What's going on? Welcome back to Why I Collect Comics. My name is Ken, and today we're going over the Dark Web, and we're going over the Lost Hunt, some Craven stuff for Spider-Man, and also the Mary Jane and Black Cat Dark Web series as well. We're going to talk about all three of those. We're going to kick it off with the Dark Web because it has one of my favorite lines ever in a comic book, and that line is, "No one webwangs the Insidious Six." Yeah. And if that sounds just absolutely ridiculous to you and you have no idea what it means, then you will love the Dark Web. It is just absurdly fun. When I first started reading it, the first issue, Dark Web, it's Amazing Spider-Man number 14. I was dubious of it. It was very slow. Like I was confused, basically, since I had been out of the loop with Spider-Man for a while. I didn't really know what was going on. So it's got Ben Reilly, it's got Madeline Pryor, and it's also the birth of a new character called Hallows Eve, which has a really cool character design. I actually bought a variant issue for 14 that has her on the cover of it, and she looks just absolutely fantastic, with the Halloween colors on it, obviously, for her design. And her power is basically she puts on different masks, and whatever mask she puts on, she inhabits the essence of that mask. So if she puts on like a wolf mask, then she turns into a werewolf. And so all of her masks are obviously, Halloween themed and going to be for monsters. So cool new villain. But I wasn't sold right away. What pulled me in was the Dark Web, the official, I guess, issue of the Dark Web. I think it's like Dark Web Dusk or that it was called, or maybe it was Dawn. Whatever, the first one, Dark Web 1. And basically, the gist of this, the plot is that Ben Reilly wants his memories back. All right. And he wants to capture Peter's soul in order to get his memories back. Madeline Pryor wants memories of her baby, of her child that she gave birth to, Nathan Summers, and then she didn't get to raise her kid. It was raised by Scott and Jean Grey. So she wants to steal Jean Grey's memories of that, and so they're both clones. They're trying to be complete and be whole. So that's the general gist of it. That's the plot of it. If you ever read the Inferno series in the 80s, which I have not, it's another one I'm collecting, is that series. So I'm looking forward to reading that after reading this series. But there's some tie-ins and there's some callbacks to that series, and really, it's just. This is the issue where it starts to become a lot of fun and has me laughing out loud, and it's all because of the demons that are from Limbo. That's where Madeline Pryor is now. Madeline Pryor is now the queen of Limbo. She was given to it. Magic gave it to her. Magic from the X-Men said, why don't you go and rule Limbo for me? And now Madeline Pryor rules Limbo with the Scythe of Sorrows, which is a very badass weapon that she has. I bought a variant issue of Spider-Man, and it's got Madeline Pryor on it, and it's got the red scythe, and it's like going over her head, and so the nice little curve there, and crimson color to it. Very, very cool, badass weapon. And so what they do is, in order to sort of create chaos and bring out the X-Men and bring out Spider-Man, the Madeline Pryor sends her demons from Limbo to Earth to inhabit Earth and inhabit inanimate objects and make them come to life. It's got a very Nightmare Before Christmas vibe to it, which I thought of like as I'm reading this, I'm thinking, oh man, this is kind of like Nightmare Before Christmas when the toys come alive and like are chasing people and everything like that. When they try to take over Christmas, and Jack's delivering all the presents there at the end. So it gave me that kind of vibe with it, and it's funny because I think the creators knew that too. The writers did, because in one of the issues, Iceman makes a Tim Burton reference. He's like, "This is feels like we're in a Tim Burton movie," which I thought was cool. I thought it was cool that they gave a nod to that, and they were very, very self-aware. It has also got like a little bit of a Gremlins and Ghostbusters 2. So it's like Ghostbusters 2 meets Gremlins meets Nightmare Before Christmas, and that's what these silly, ridiculous, just endearing also demons that inhabit these inanimate objects like taxi cabs and newsstands and fire hydrants and mailboxes and Christmas trees. Oh man. The stuff with when they inhabit the Christmas tree and how Spider-Man uses them is beautiful. It's a chef's kiss, really. It's had me laughing out loud. And I rarely do that when reading comic books. Like a lot of times with Spider-Man, I'll smile or whatever when he says something that makes me that's funny, that I like. But it's very rare to get me to read a comic and then laugh out loud while reading it. So this did that on more than one occasion. So this, like I said, it provides a ton of great humor. It also brings back old school Venom, which I think is awesome. Because it's not like the hero Venom with Eddie Brock and whatnot. Now the symbiote. I always say it wrong. Whatever. Has taken over, and so it's symbiotes. Because I want to say symbiote because biology and whatnot, but it's symbiote. That's what it is. So the symbiote takes over Eddie Brock, and like now it's back to old school Venom wanting to eat Spider-Man's brains. That's the Venom that I want, and it leads to some fun humor as well. It leads to talking about, should you care if your brains are delicious or not? Should you care? That is a something that gets brought up on more than one occasion, and again, I thought was quite humorous. Things really kick off in this series in Spider-Man 15, 16, and X-Men Dark Web issue number 1. Those are some of my favorite issues in this series. Probably my 3 favorite issues in this series. X-Men 2 is okay. It's just not as funny as the Dark Web X-Men 1. And then the third one in the Dark Web X-Men series is a nice little a nice way to end it. They wrap it up. They wrap up that storyline, I think, better than the Ben Reilly storyline. So the Madeline Pryor storyline, I think, gets wrapped up better in Dark Web X-Men 3 than Ben Reilly's does in this series. Plus, Dark Web X-Men 3 has puppies in it, and so you can't go wrong with that. I mean, yeah, puppies will always win. I have a puppy right now. Many of you know, Bucky barks, and he is quite a handful. It's getting better. He's sleeping through the night now, which is nice. But still wakes up early, 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. We try to tell him it is not time to get up right now. But then he's playing in bed, and then he just, we're up. Anyways, so as this thing starts to really kick off, like in Spider-Man 15, 16, and the Dark Web X-Men number 1, I'm starting to ask myself, is it wrong that I'm rooting for the demons in this? I really enjoy them. They're not only are they funny, but they're endearing. And even Firestar feels bad about killing them. I mean, so you're doing a good job with these characters when you can evoke that kind of emotion from your readers and from your characters, even though you're writing the characters. So obviously you can make them act however you want to. Even the action boxes in this series are fun, and I'm going to read one of them for you. The naughty tree was pulling decorations off nearby buildings. I mean, come on. How could you not get into that? So that's another great thing, is that this was written and takes place over Christmas. So, love the Christmas vibes. And plus, if you put Hallows Eve in there, and she's kind of got Halloween vibes. And you got the demons in there from Limbo. I mean, it's just so much to like about this series. It is a really fun series. I have the actual book. If you want to read it, the link for that is down below in the description of this video. I bought the comic book issues as I normally do. Now, the book doesn't have Gold Goblin in it or Mary Jane and the Black Cat. dark web issues. So it only has the ones that kind of really tie into the main story and the main plot. I read Gold Goblin, the 2 issues that were supposed to be dark web tie-ins, just because, gotta collect them all, and I wanted to have the full set of the dark web issues. And it is something that you can skip. It ties in a little bit more than Mary Jane and the Black Cat, just because Gold Goblin does appear again in dark web, like in the finale. But unless you're like really into the Norman Osborn storyline, and then it's something you can skip. There are some cool characters that show up, like Queen Goblin, not to be confused with Goblin Queen, which is Madeline Pryor. Queen Goblin makes an appearance, which I did not know anything about her, which I thought she was a very cool character, and so it might be worth it to check it out if you like that. If like I said, if you're into the Green Goblin storyline and Norman Osborn and his redemption, then check out the Gold Goblin. Mary Jane and Black Cat Dark Web, I am going to review in a little bit. I'm going to review that one separately. If you're just concerned about the Dark Web series, then you don't need to check these out. But I do think it's something that you should check out on its own, because I think it's worth it. It's got 5 issues in it. Get to that in a second. I want to talk about Kamala Khan, and that is another tie-in series. That one actually is in the book from Amazon, or you can buy it anywhere else, not just Amazon. It's just affiliate marketing and whatnot. And so if you click the link and you buy it, then I get like $1 or something like that, or 20 cents or or whatever it is. And most people buy it from Amazon. There are no more bookstores probably because of Amazon. So that's why I say pick it up at Amazon. But you can pick it up wherever you buy your comic book complete sets. Kamala Khan, the issues are fine. They tie in loosely to the main plot. I mean, it's a little bit more than Gold Goblin, I guess, but I didn't think it was that much. It's something you probably could skip as well if you were collecting just the individual issues. Spider-Man 17 introduces, that's where the quote, it was either Spider-Man 16 or maybe the Dark Web finale. I can't remember which one it was, but it was Spider-Man 17. Anyways, this introduces the Insidious Six, which is a fun take on the Sinister Six. And it's made up of demons, and they all have their own little variation of the different characters in the Sinister Six. And that's, where it comes up. Nobody web wangs the Insidious Six. And yeah, so a lot of fun with that one. The Dark Web finale was okay. I felt like it wrapped up a little bit too easily, which is, weird saying, because, I mean, yeah, just basically like hell takes over New York City. But I mean, it still felt like it was not a totally satisfying conclusion. And also just not enough Hallows Eve in this series. That's my one gripe with it, is that you introduced a cool character, Hallows Eve, and you just did not feature her enough. She has one cool moment in this entire series. And, I felt like they left a lot on the table by introducing a new villain and not featuring her enough. And I'm afraid they're going to make her an anti-hero. She's got her own limited series that's out. I'm waiting for the 5th issue to get delivered. Ordered that online, and it's coming with a bunch of other stuff that I had ordered, and they all ship at once everything gets released. And so I like to pre-order things. So I will be covering that as soon as I get those issues, and I'll check that out. But I'm not in love with the anti-hero angle, so I hope they don't go that route. I covered my thoughts on that in the Carnage series that I covered, so you should go ahead and check that video out. It's not a podcast; it is just a video on YouTube. So if you're listening to this in on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts, then you can go ahead and check out the YouTube channel as well. Just why I collect comics, same name as the podcast. Make it easy. All right, let's talk about Mary Jane and the Black Cat, the Dark Web series. Again, link for that is down below in the description of this video if you want to check that out. I highly recommend this one. So I was worried at first because I thought this was just going to be like a TNA sort of comic book series, and she's like, okay, well, you got two sexy girls, and this guy, you know, Black Cat and Mary Jane, and it's just gonna be a lot of fan service, and you know, I was worried, but it tied in the dark web, so like, you know what, I'm already getting 2 issues. I love Black Cat, so why not get the other 3? And I'm glad I did, because the series is a lot of fun. I love the dynamic between Black Cat and MJ. They have a great relationship, and they play really well off of one another. So basically the plot of this is Black Cat and MJ go on a heist and in limbo, and they're trying to recover the soul sword for Belasco so that he can rule limbo. And so it's a caper. They go on a heist because it's Black Cat, obviously, and MJ goes along with her. There are some cool surprises in this, things that I didn't know, and I don't think there was things that were revealed earlier. I think they were just revealed in this series. I could be wrong about that. Like I said, I'd been on the loop for Spider-Man for a while, so a lot of the newer stuff, you know, I mean, I say newer stuff, I mean, there was like probably 20-year gap there or something like that where I didn't really check in that much with comics, and wasn't getting into it, and I'm just glad to be back at it though. Black Cat is the narrator in this series, and they did a perfect job having it be her, because her narration is so fun. She just has a very like modern vibe to her, and she talks like, I don't know, like if you have, you know, one of your girlfriends would talk, or just you know, I mean, she talks like a real person, basically. Someone you want to hang out with, and someone you want to chill with. She talks like some of my friends. So I just found it really easy just to fall into it. And I mean, I already loved Black Cat, but maybe like her even more. There's some fun twists along the way in this one. It ends on a nice cliffhanger as well. It's kind of tease what's to come in Spider-Man, which has already happened in Spider-Man. I'm just, you know, I'm far behind the curve right now. I was gonna try to do even more and really like get all caught up with Spider-Man, but I'm like, I did Dark Web, did Mary Jane, Black Cat, did Craven. I felt like that was enough for this pod, but I am obviously going to continue with the Amazing Spider-Man series. It won't be every podcast won't be on Spider-Man. Don't worry. For those of you that want me to check out other stuff, next pod I believe is going to be Silver Surfer. I'm going to check out the first 14 issues of his series. I think it's volume 3. That it is. I'm gonna check out that one, and then he's got Silver Surfer Ghostlight is a new series, new Silver Surfer limited series that I'm going to read and review as well. So we're gonna do a little bit of a tone shift here and talk about Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt, where Dark Web and Black Cat and Mary Jane Dark Web have a more fun vibe to it, a more humorous vibe to it, silly and absurdly fun. Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt is more dealing with some serious stuff, and it deals with Kraven the Hunter. He's a serious man, and his legacy, and his spiritual successor, and Gregor. So he's the villain in this, and he's back, and he's trying to finish what Kraven had started and kill the Spider. And this all happens during the Clone Saga, when Peter doesn't have any powers, and he thinks that he's actually the clone. So they leave New York City, and they're living in Portland. Mary Jane is pregnant right now, and Peter's dealing with a lot of mental health issues. He's very fragile. He doesn't know who he is without being Spider-Man. I mean, that was such a huge part of his identity. I mean, you know, when he didn't want to be Peter Parker, he could just put on the suit and go be Spider-Man, and, you know, let his problems as Peter Parker sort of fade into the background and not think about it. You know, it's kind of like how we lose ourselves in our work and then maybe push aside problems we might have at home. You know, I'm not saying everyone does that. Some people do that. You know, there's other ways that we avoid it. Maybe it's just, you know, hanging out with your friends, or maybe it's, you know, playing a sport, playing basketball or football or something, you know, going to the gym, just anything to kind of sort of push away those problems that you're dealing with, find an escape. being Spider-Man was Peter Parker's escape, and now he doesn't have that anymore. So in addition to all that, Gregor is screwing with him mentally with some voodoo. So he's putting some like demonic thoughts into his head as well, which, doesn't help at all. But the cool thing about this is that since he doesn't have his powers, Spider-Man's dealing with mental battles in this more than physical battles. There are obviously physical battles in it, but most of it is mental. And that kind of makes it more relatable because we all have demons we battle. There are mental hurdles we need to overcome. They might not be as intense as Spider-Man is dealing with, but we still deal with that more than we deal with fighting crime, right? I mean, unless you're a cop or, that's your job. Unless your job is to deal with crime, then you probably deal with crime. But for most people, we deal with our mental health and our mental issues and more than we deal with any sort of physical confrontation. So my favorite theme in this really is that there's the difference between a hero and a villain is the ability to conquer your demons rather than letting your demons drive you. So I sort of flubbed that. Let me give that to you again. The difference between a hero and a villain is the ability to conquer your demons rather than letting your demons drive you or conquer you. So heroes, they're able to overcome all the bad shit that's happened to them in their lives. Whereas villains let that consume them, define who they are. And, we see this in real life too. Sometimes, with Bethany and I say it all the time, hurt people. I think sometimes people have a hard time realizing how somebody could do some monstrous things, like a lot of times we just say they're psychopaths or sociopaths, and a lot of times they are. But sometimes they're just people that could not conquer their demons. For those people that have conquered their demons and overcome them, they might not have sympathy for those people that weren't, but people are wired differently. And so I think that's another thing that this tackles is that it's not just nature and it's not just nurture, it's both. So yes, you can have something terrible happen to you and you can overcome it because of just the nature of your makeup and and your mentality, and you are able to overcome that. But maybe somebody that just isn't born with those abilities, those traits, those it's kind of like a superpower almost. They aren't able to process it like you are. We're all built differently. And so some people are able to overcome it, some people aren't. And that's really sort of at the core here. It's how Kraven and Peter Parker, because Kraven comes up, because even though Gregor is the villain in this, and is the one going after Peter Parker, it all goes back to Kraven, and gives a nice origin story for Kraven, and what drove him, and why he was so obsessed with Spider-Man, so it really does deal with the fact of Kraven and Peter, or Sergei and Peter, they're the same in a lot of ways. Peter Parker is just a hero. He's Spider-Man. And that's what makes him so great, is the fact that he has overcome so much shit in his life. And he has so many reasons not to be a hero. Even, the reason that he got into being a hero was that, because with great power comes great responsibility, and he felt to blame for his uncle's death. I mean, it could have very easily gone the other way and said that, Peter didn't kill him. Yes, he let the guy go away. But, okay, what about anybody else? I'm sure, maybe he could check his rap sheet or whatever and saw that he was arrested several times for robbery and burglary, and they kept letting him get out, and then Peter could all be bitter about the system, like, blaming other people and not taking the responsibility, like, and putting it on his own shoulders and letting that drive him. He could have handled it differently. He could have turned into the Punisher, and he could have been a murderous vigilante. But what's so great about Peter is that he always looks for humanity in people, even in his enemies. And that's one of the reasons that I love Spider-Man so much, is that he will always try to look for the best in people. And even when he like snaps, like, he still won't go to the darkest side, which is, killing his enemies. And it's something very admirable. If I was him, I don't know if I could do that. If all these people were, these supervillains were trying to kill me and I was Spider-Man, I had to protect my friends and family. I don't know if I'd be able to just pull back like he does. I mean, because think about it. A lot of times he deals with just regular humans that have these extraordinary gadgets, like, Shocker or Dr. Octopus, Vulture. And so Spider-Man has to pull his punches every single time he fights those people. Because if he doesn't, he could knock their heads off because of how strong he is. But he pulls back. Because even though they are villains, they are still people. And, probably deep down he understands that it's a fine line, and he could have very well have gone to that villain side. And sometimes, if you show a little bit of sympathy towards somebody else, it can change them. It can change a person that's maybe been crapped on their entire life and had a hard time their entire life, and just thinks that they have to be an asshole or have to be, a bad person in order to survive in this world. And then, that just gets reinforced because they're an asshole, and then people are just mean back to them because they're getting, what the person's given out. But then when they receive that kindness, and then even in the face of them being a jerk or in this case, being a villain, they have someone show a little bit of kindness towards them, maybe it can change them. Now in comic books, I don't necessarily like that. I don't want that to happen in the comics I read, but in real life, I think that's a good lesson. So very good series. Not as fun as the other two, but I still think it's worth picking up, especially if you like Kraven the Hunter and you like that whole saga, and you want a little bit more background on him and his life and his origin story. There's also a surprise character that comes in there. Don't want to ruin that for you. It's not like a huge surprise or a huge reveal, but there is that in there. Yeah, that's it. So those are I recommend all these three series: Dark Web, Mary Jane the Black Cat, and Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt. And I guess it depends on what you want to read as far as what I would recommend. If you only could pick up one of those, which one to pick up. I mean, it just depends on the vibe you're going for. If you want something fun and silly to laugh out loud with, then go with the Dark Web. If you just want like a nice quick read that is fun and has got some sexy women in it, then pick up Mary Jane and the Black Cat. And if you want something that's a little bit heavier, make you think, and dives into some good issues and some good themes, and you really like Kraven the Hunter, then check out Spider-Man: The Lost Hunt. All right. As I said, next time I'm hoping to do Silver Surfer and start and dive into that series. I want to say really quickly that I have been catching up on Carnage. I talked about this earlier, that series, and really enjoyed it at first. And well, I said it first. Spoiler alert. Really enjoyed it at first. I thought it was a great series. Unfortunately, it just I didn't dislike it, but I was disappointed because it started to tie back. Like, I wanted Carnage to be like it was nice because Carnage was a standalone series, and like it didn't really deal with any Spider-Man. And then towards the end there, it kind of brings Spider-Man back in there, but it's Miles Morales that it brings in, and then it goes off to its own little series of I don't know if it's another one. I think it's Absolute Carnage, but so I was a little bummed about that. And then I haven't seen any new issues for Carnage, so I don't know if they've just ended that series. And this was just a lead in to the series with Miles Morales, the crossover series with that, and if that was the reason for this the Carnage series to begin with, which is kind of disappointing if it was. I wanted it to be its own standalone series and to have it to follow a villain, and yeah, I mean, so a little bummed about that. I still think it's worth a read, especially the first probably like 10 issues or whatever before it gets into the Miles Morales stuff. I think that it's, again, if you like horror, it's a fun time. You should check out the video that I did on it. It's on YouTube if you're on YouTube, and if you're on listening to this on a podcast, then go check out the YouTube channel Why I Collect Comics. Thanks for listening, and so far so good with this new format. I got this video out in a lot quicker time than the one between my last two episodes. I think it was like 3 months before that, and this is 3 weeks or something like that, maybe a little less. So yeah,